What do we do if we decide we are not happy with the functional form? Well, the next step is to go to the multi-divisional strategy, or the M form. And the textbook talks about three different types of multi-divisional structures. And that's fine. The basic concept of the multi-divisional structures are the same. These different terms just express how they are slightly different. The first it talks about is the cooperative form. And so what is typical about the cooperative form is you still have a pretty robust corporate headquarters where there are lots of function, or I want to say functional expertise like R&D, like HR, like marketing, like finance that happens at the corporate level. And these tend to be fairly large organizations. However, you do have the various divisions. In this particular example, they're called them product divisions, which means they are divided by product, and that makes sense, and that is typically how it's seen. So this would be a great format for a manufacturing company that had lots of different products, but it also could be for a service company that had a variety of different services as well. How does this stack up on accountability and responsibility? The idea is you start to push down to these product divisions the opportunity to pass at least limited P&L responsibilities. It's not unusual to see a plant manager or someone who's just running a plant who would have some P&L responsibility. So you can push some of the responsibility and the accountability down to these product division managers. In terms of communication and cooperation, because they are organized along product, you have the marketing people talking to the R&D people, talking to the accounting people within the products. So it is superior in terms of communication in cooperation within the product divisions. Is you have all the functions that may be present here. And I say may because product divisions are the lightest form, if you will, of the divisional structure. The company tries to execute a sharing of information across the various products by having these product managers talk to each other, and also by having a strong corporate entity that serves as a reservoir of expertise. So, for example, the marketing people in all of these divisions would be perhaps talking to the corporate marketing office. So it's strong on accountability, or stronger on accountability, better on communication, but where it falls down is in cost. Because you do perhaps have marketing people in all these product divisions, you may end up with more marketing people than you would have had in a purely functional organization. And the notion is by having them in the different product divisions, they're actually going to be more effective and they're going to sell more, and the customers are going to be happier, which is going to be good for the company in the long run because you have that presence there. But it is a more costly format. Also, you see some loss of the functional expertise. So if, for example, you are the head of marketing, you're a little bit frustrated because you've got all your marketing people down here and they're talking in their divisions, and you have chief marketing officers in each of these product divisions perhaps, and you may feel a little isolated and you may feel like you can't really develop good salespeople because you don't have enough time to work with them. So there is a sense that you lose some of that functional expertise with this sort of organization. Next, we go to the strategic business unit, or SBU. And here, if I had to tell you the watchword, it's that you have more independent divisions. They have more entities and typically a smaller corporate headquarters. And you'll sometimes see bigger differences when you have these different divisions. It may be more than just the product division that is more than or there's more differences than slight differences in the products. So in this form, if I'm in Procter & Gamble, this could be diapers, and this is paper towels, and those sorts of things. In fact, Procter & Gamble just went through a major reassembly of this. Here, you tend not to have as many, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way, tend not to have as many in the SBU because they are bigger, more independent organizations. This is great from an accountability and responsibility because this person almost certainly has P&L responsibility for their areas. It also does a great job of eliciting communication cooperation because you can see they have everything they need. In this form, in the cooperative form, you may not have any finance people. You may not have any accounting people down in the product divisions. You may not even have any marketing people down in the product divisions. So you don't have everything necessarily. In the SBU, you do have everything. And so you have great cooperation, great communication, great cooperation communication within the division, maybe not as good to the other divisions. From a cost standpoint, this can also be a very costly strategy because you do have more duplication. The final is what they call the competitive form, and this is what's used with an unrelated diversification strategy. These people have very independent divisions. Typically in this, you have a very lean, very small corporate headquarters because every one of these divisions are largely managed by financial controls. There's not a lot of communication or sharing between these, so it's weak on that. You might say it's weak on cost because there's perhaps duplications of expertise, but it's just a matter of the fact that they may be killing it in their marketing area and doing fantastic, but that information isn't necessarily getting shared across. Where this one excels is in the accountability and responsibility. Also, because you have a light corporate headquarters, it does reduce the cost from that standpoint. A company that I've referenced in our discussions, Danaher, which is a like 60, 70, 80,000 person company, their corporate headquarters has like less than 100 people in it. And the reason for that is everything is out in the divisions. So this is what you use when you're basically saying, I hire and fire the managers, I hold them accountable. Other than that, they have a lot of autonomy. So in a sense, decentralization is extreme in this because these people are, the authority is decentralized out to these people. And so neither one of these solutions, or none of the solutions that we've talked about thus far, are entirely satisfactory. There are some pretty distinct pros and cons trade-offs. And because of that, there's obviously a desire to fix those limitations, and that is the matrix approach. This is another area where I think the textbook is really deficient. They barely even talk about this. This deserves its own section in the textbook, and it's just like a paragraph or two. So what happens is a company picks one of those organizational forms. Often a matrix organization will go with a functional format. And then what they'll do is they will go on a project or a team-based approach that will cut across. And so this may say, hey, I'm developing this new product and I need somebody from manufacturing, somebody from engineering, somebody from marketing, somebody from PR, and they will form a team or a project. And so this is called the hybrid or the matrix approach. The pros, it's trying to get the best of both organizations. So if we go it functionally, I'm trying to get that great functional expertise in each of these areas. And I'm trying to generate the communications that's needed to bring on a multidisciplinary or disciplinary or multifunction project by having project managers. So I want the best of both worlds. Great. What's the problem if you are one of the people here? And some of you may be experiencing this already in your workplace. You have two bosses. What if those two bosses want very different things of you? That's a problem. What if both of those bosses need something done today and it's a task that's going to take you all day? And so you can get pulled in the middle if you work in these sorts of organizations. That is the main con of this organization. So let me give you a piece of advice. If I'm pulled between two bosses, then I'm forced to make frankly, some pretty strategic decisions. This person almost certainly writes my performance report, and so I ignore them or I disappoint them at great peril. But If this person is in fact a rising star in the company and they're noticing what I'm doing and they're really impressed, then maybe I have to, you know, accept the risk of disappointing this person to make this person very happy. The other thing I need to do is I need to assess the relationship between these two people. Do they get along with each other? Do they like each other? Do they respect each other? And so now, if they're asking me to do things that I can't get done, I go to my marketing manager and I say, hey, or my manufacturing manager say, hey, boss, you've asked me to do X, Y, and Z, and I can do that, but my project managers asked me to do A, B, and C, and they want it done today. Then you give them the opportunity to make a decision. Well, if Sherry says she needs it done today, I know that the CEO's given her a big job, and we need to keep that on task. So yeah, I can live by you waiting until tomorrow to get me what I need. So you have to figure out how to navigate this, and it's not necessarily easy to do. And if some of you've already worked in this environment, you're like, yeah, it's not easy to do. It's much easier to do when these two people get along. When these two people hate each other, good luck. It's just where you're going to have to figure out who's going to be able to do the most for you in the organization, because you just have to default back to being safe. So what this is a desire to do is, for example, to take the low cost nature of the functional structure, but build some communication into it to get more out of it. The problem is that often accountability gets muddled in this approach. We're going to talk about adapting these organizations and look at some real world applications in the next video.